Drumpeel block here is predominantly all cropping, so we've run continuously crop since 1962. So we have a peat-based soil, sort of further we go to the west on the Drumpeel, we come into sort of Hastings salt loams in the middle of the block. As we get closer to the Papanui stream, we're into sort of sandy loams, and then we move out onto sort of clay shales as we get further away from the river on the other side. So a mixture of soil types and a mixture of different characteristics. So again, how they take water in wet and dry zones is quite critical. It's quite a light soil, so free draining generally. And if you feel it between your fingers, it's got a little bit of grit in there, whereas clay's very smooth, very silky. The area we've got to irrigate is quite large with a limited amount of water. So we probably, for a lot of people would consider, we actually don't have enough water to do what we want to do. So that's why the rotations are quite critical, and being able to manipulate the water through the machinery is actually quite good. So with the VRI machines, we can turn off water on some crops that are finished and leave water going on other areas. We can reduce water on the heavier soils or the wetter areas and not have any water there at all, and just use it on the light. And we can change total flows through the machine so that we can then allow water to go elsewhere in the system to run other equipment, other irrigators to keep us up to speed with water everywhere. So yeah, having that flexibility and the ability to manage the water through the equipment is quite critical, and all those little bits help. So this is the brains of the system, and it basically then controls each of the sprinklers on the irrigator to put on the water that we need. And then you can see within the program here, there's the different crops and then the different water rates that we're putting on the different crops. And then what the program was looking at was whether we can combine that technology with the crop modelling and the weather data to actually then start automatically unloading these prescriptions rather than me doing it manually. Well, their project was around sort of working on decision support or tools that would help farmers make decisions, informed decisions around the irrigation. And so a lot of the first work was setting up and understanding the variation within the soil types, with the view to how that would affect water usage and water holding capacity in the soil, so then they could set up zones within that for the irrigator. We had a VRI irrigator there, which meant that they could control the water and apply water to different areas to see how that responded. And then eventually, over time, they set up additional equipment or it was really software that enabled the models to almost take over running the irrigator and prescribing what the model thought would be the best for the crop at the time, with regard to the weather that was occurring and had occurred. So it moved on, and there was sort of various biomass sensors as well, so there was all sorts of things going on over that paddock. So I just let them get organised, because at the end of the day, what's useful to me is how it works, how we can apply that information. I don't really need to understand how, just as long as it works. The modelling and the decision support, I think, is actually pretty useful. It does certainly help address different crops, different soils, different patches within a block have different moisture requirements at different times. So again, having the ability to apply that water more effectively and efficiently at those different places means that you get more efficient use of the water, because you're not wasting water, there's no water going through drainage, and you're not, hopefully you're optimising the crop performance with that water, because you're not getting too wet or too dry in some areas, and so the crop performance, crop potential is maximised. It's quite good to be demonstrating to the wider public around the sort of the right to farm issues, really, that we actually are treating this resource carefully and not wasting it, and we're applying technology and the best possible practice to enable us to utilise that water well.